Hi, I'm Mickey Kennedy with eReleases.com and this YouTube channel, eReleases TV. I'm going to share with you 8 ways to ensure your press release receives media coverage. You may not know this, but most newspapers publish upwards of 200 articles a day. Some of the larger heavy hitters can publish as many as 1,000 or more articles, sometimes as online only exclusives for some of those, or behind a paywall. So there's lots of opportunities for you to get discovered, and it's easy to do that if you use a press release to get out there and try to get noticed so that you ultimately are turned into an article or have a reporter or journalist write about you. And number one, make your press release interesting. And you're probably saying to yourself, I'm not newsworthy. But you would be surprised the things that journalists write about. Sometimes it can be a partnership, a new product or service, a retrofit to a product or service. There's been a lot of people getting coverage during the pandemic about changes they've made to their business or things that they're doing. I've read lots of articles about companies that made alcohol that you drink, all of a sudden doing a pivot to make hand sanitizers. So if you're looking for ideas for a press release, you can visit ereleases.com/ideas, and I think I have about 64 ideas for you to consider for a press release. And some of those might get you to think in a way to consider things that may not be obvious to you. Number two, keep it short and simple. A reporter is under deadline. They're having to produce a lot of content. The last thing they want to see is a really long, drawn-out press release that doesn't get to what the hook or the story is. So you want to make it concise. It is completely appropriate to link to tech specs on your website, more information, but make sure that the meat of the announcement is there in the press release. Because it's short and simple, do not overlook proofreading. And here's sort of a tip that I recommend in that regards. You can have a colleague or someone at your business read it, but also have like your spouse or a friend who's not in your industry read it, because sometimes it's easy to omit something and your coworker may not see it because they're wearing the same blinders as you, but a third party or someone who's not familiar with your company or your industry may just pick up on that. So that's important to know. Number three, master the art of the headline. The headline is the most important part of a press release. It's like the email subject, because in some cases it is the email subject. When you pitch journalists directly or use a service that emails press releases to journalists, it's often the headline or an abbreviated version of the headline that gets put into the subject of the email. Are they going to open that email? It's based on the headline. And when releases hit the Newswire feed, it's the headlines. And are they going to click through and read the entire press release or read further? It's because of that headline. That being said, do not pick the New York Post punny style of headlines. Often they lack context, and it's just going to frustrate a journalist who clicks on that, and it's not exactly a good match with what's actually in the press release. Number four, you want to pick the right journalist for your media coverage. Do not consider the shotgun approach and send to everyone. You may feel that a lot of people could potentially write about you, but hone in on who are the perfect journalist for this press release and pick that industry and send your release out. The last thing you want is a sports editor to get a tech press release, and that happens more times than you can imagine. If you just go to Twitter, where a lot of journalists are, it's one of the biggest pet peeves. So you want to make sure that you don't come across as amateurish or get blocked by a lot of people, either through email, which means most of your messages will start going to spam, or on the Newswire feeds where journalists can basically remove someone that they don't want to consider in the future. So definitely don't make that mistake. 5, use the right platform for press releases. The best platform should give you access to journalists both through email and through a newswire feed like e-releases. We utilize PR Newswire, which is the oldest and largest press release newswire, and the other two that are in the United States that are press release newswires are Business Wire and Globe Newswire, and that's basically it. There's a lot of people out there that call themselves newswires or give the impression that they're sending the releases out, but they're not true platforms that send out press releases on a newswire. That being said, you're saying to yourself, well, what about the AP or UPI or Reuters? Those are newswires, but they're not newswires of press releases. They're newswires of their own content. And often they will review or consider a press release, but they tweak it in some way so that the article is unique to them and they own the copyright because they make their money licensing their content to newspapers and other places out there. So that's a good indication of why you have to reach a proper newswire for one that does press releases. 6, make it easy for journalists to follow up. Always include a contact information, and I'm going to strongly recommend that you have both an email address as well as a phone number. Ideally one that can be reached after hours. So if need be, have 2 phone numbers. You can have the work number and then an after hours cell phone number. There's nothing more frustrating than losing a story because a journalist is under deadline. They sent it to their managing editor and he asked a question and they can't get a hold of you to clarify what that question is or to get more information. And sometimes I've actually seen where you send a press release, they send you an email saying I'm under deadline, you don't respond, and then the next day there's an article that the journalist did and it doesn't mention you, it mentions your competitor. And that was because your competitor was accessible by phone and they needed to plug in someone else that when they took you out of the story. So they called your competitor and they were reachable, and you don't want that to happen. 7, consider supporting stars. Is there someone that this announcement is about, or someone that helped in this announcement? Is it, in some cases, if it's a local story, was there a local politician who made something possible, be it a grant or a change in laws or something like that? Have you teamed up with a local charity, or is there a partnership between you and another company? Having multiple people in there gives multiple avenues for the press release to ultimately be written. For example, charities love to mention celebrities and align themselves with celebrities, and the reason is you might be a charity about a particular topic, and a journalist, while they could write an article about you, it just doesn't resonate with them strongly enough to be turned into an article. But because you mentioned a celebrity tied to the event, they know that their readers really like that celebrity, or some of them would, so it makes them more likely to actually write that article. So that's another really important thing to do. However, I will tell you the newswires hate having celebrities in press releases because sometimes celebrities will just say something nice about a company or a product, and you want to get that in the press release and get that out there, and it's an implied endorsement. And people have had a celebrity mention them favorably, got the word out, and then been sued by the celebrity or their attorneys because they feel that you're using their likeness to promote your product or service, which you kind of are. So it's a very difficult thing, but it is something that can be worked. And if you do have a celebrity that you're working with, just get something in writing from them that says that they're agreed to be attached to your press release, and that way you're protected when you send a press release over a True Newswire. 8, add some visuals. We live in a visual world right now, and social media and online presences are very strong. So a lot of journalists and reporters expect that there be a compelling or interesting image or photo attached to your press release. If you're releasing stats, having a pie chart or a graph can be used if you're doing a top 5 or top 5 list. A really nice image that's been professionally done showing that top 5 or top 10 can be really useful. Infographics are hot, and if you can put an infographic attached to what you're sending out, those do very well online. At the very least, you should consider a photograph of the product or a photograph of someone using a service in the case if it's a service that can't be easily photographed. So now that you have the 8 ways to ensure your press release receives media coverage, it's time to generate some of that buzz. Getting media coverage doesn't have to be difficult. With a good press release, the right connections, and the right platform like ereleases.com, you can easily get the word out about your business. For more tips and ideas, subscribe to this YouTube channel. And also, I'm offering a free press release checklist with 24 do's and don'ts before you hit send on your next release. Just visit ereleases.com/checklist. Again, that's ereleases.com/checklist.